Welcome to Option Select on Air, where our community members join in to discuss the news, play games, and a special topic of the day. On Air goes live on Twitch at least once every month, brought to you by the folks at Offstage Malaysia, your local Nintendo-centric community gathered right here at Mentari Bandar Sunway. Special thanks to our sponsors, Mansion Display Systems and Printing Services, as well as Pixels Distribution for bringing this show to life. Alright, now with a brand new console on the horizon along with the usual Summer's Game Fest coming up quickly, this week's news segment may just be the calm before a storm. Either way, we'll go through some major headlines, recent upcoming games, releases, and much more during this episode of Option Select on Air. Right, let's get into the first segment of this week. Here I have me, Solo Snivy, as well as Cam Ping to bring you the recent headlines of the gaming industry.
Greetings.
So this specific week is interesting because we compile some of the releases from 2 weeks ago plus until maybe 2 weeks later, because the next episode will be in June at this point.
Yeah.
Right? So when June comes out, the Switch is technically out. Switch 2 is technically out by that point, as well as maybe Summer Game Fest in the same weekend.
Hoping so.
So there will be quite a lot of news by that point. Either way, this week has a few headlines that are decent, more on the market and as well as the worries. But there are a few game releases that I think Cam might be pretty excited to share with us.
As usual.
Right. So we'll start with a few headlines. So the first thing is that the Nintendo Switch 2 currently has at least 2.2 million applications for pre-orders in Japan alone. This is not even counting the US and the European markets, which we know many people were fighting to get a pre-order to begin with. Now, Japan goes more crazier in terms of the Nintendo brand loyalty. We all know that. And Nintendo is also surprised by wow, we don't have enough demand to supply 2 million applications. Like the previous launch was less than half.
Oh, really?
Of that. Yeah, the Switch 1 was during a lull of the Nintendo era, right? Because Wii U,
it
post
came
Wii
from
U.
the Wii U, yeah.
And even still, it went from 400,000 to now 2 million. I mean, no matter what company you are, you ain't ready for that, bro. That's at least 100 times.
I think they would be, right? Because at least they know the success of the Switch 1, and when you're just making a direct sequel to it, right? People definitely have their eyes on this.
Yeah, but typically, also because Japan doesn't have the best economic situation right now, you wouldn't expect this many. But Nintendo Switch fans surprisingly loyal, so hey.
Yeah, man, there's only some games you can play there.
True. And the next headline I would say is that Nintendo reached a market cap of 100 billion for the first time. Yes, even the Wii era did not achieve this level of ability. So let's just say comparison. So we have a few of the top 10s in Japan, right? There's Toyota, there's Sony, Mitsubishi, Hitachi, Kian's Fast Retailing, Nintendo, as well as Sumitomo, which is a bank company. Nintendo is 7th in the entirety of Japan.
That's kind of nuts. I didn't really look at this before.
Yeah. So we know Toyota is very high. That makes sense, right? They're a car company. But Nintendo in the top 10, this is technically this is an entertainment company at this point.
Is there any special classification for that? I thought that
no,
was
because
just how
when
it
you
is.
are a video game,
Yeah.
right? I know entertainment technically counts in video game, but now they're more in wider sense of entertainment.
I guess so, yeah.
So I can give some fun facts about this particular headline. Market cap has doubled since 2016, thanks to the success of the Switch console and expansion into movies and theme parks. As a reminder, Switch 2 coming on June 5th, 2025. Super Nintendo World currently has at least 3 locations: Universal Studio Japan, Hollywood, and Orlando, as well as potentially Singapore coming soon. The latter 2 is coming soon. Legend of Zelda movie coming in March 2027, coinciding with Sonic the Hedgehog 4, potentially. And these are the main points, but Nintendo being part of the list goes kind of nuts.
I never really thought about it that way, right? Because all we see in the gaming sphere is just that Nintendo is just doing its own thing. And I guess what's really starting to pay out for them, right? As they're not really caught by the current trends of gaming with all that. I mean, they still do get caught in a little bit of that with the price hikes on per se Mario Kart, right? But they have an edge in how unique they are. I guess that's how I would say
if
that.
we want to mention a direct competitor, obviously Sony is doing better, right? They're the second in entirety of Japan. But this doesn't just count the gaming section. They have imaging, they have TVs, they have speakers, they have a lot. It's an electronics company first and foremost. So Nintendo being a purely like
Video game
media
company, right?
company in a sense, like wow, you guys are kind of going crazy. Not gonna lie. And talking about
Success.
how Nintendo also is getting backlash on the past few months and a half, Xbox is also raising prices on hardware as well as software. So here are some price ranges that you can expect. So the Series S, the lower level console in this current generation, is from $300 to $380. That's a full game price right there. The Series X went from $500 to $600. Okay, Xbox wireless headset go from 110 to 120. Okay, it's an accessory, by the way. It's quite a lot for an accessory. Elite controller too, 180 to 200. And then first party titles are now $80 from the previous 70 as
Okay,
well.
that's quite a big jump actually.
So you can see the wider sphere. Even though Microsoft currently in the market is not known as like a major producer of like console hardware and software, but they still have the gall to do this, and like the trend might be going that way.
I do have something I can add though, because I remember looking up somewhere. Of course, we wouldn't be talking about Game Pass price increase because it didn't increase in price. I mean, it increased in price a while ago, but in terms of their revenues, right? If I'm not mistaken, Game Pass has been steadily growing at like a 45% increase compared to its last like earnings call, I believe, which is
good. That's good.
insane. And I feel like that's what they're going for now. Just going to invest more into Game Pass and not worrying so much about what's going on with all these consoles.
Yeah. For Microsoft, Xbox is just a way for you to have an easier option to play Game Pass.
Yeah, you could just like play, like you could play like
if you don't
Game-
bother with PC, right?
you can play like anywhere, right? That's the idea they're going for now. You could play on any console.
We'll wait until Switch 2 having Game Pass. Imagine.
Oh boy.
Either way, those are the major headlines of this past 2 weeks.
Yeah, there isn't much. At least that catches our eye, right?
Yeah. Again, calm before the storm. Okay, we might
boy.
get more in the upcoming month or so.
Yeah.
So moving on from there, we can go to game releases. So we have a full list of game releases, but we'll start from the highlight game releases of first. Do you want to mention this? I'll let you handle the game releases section.
Yeah, sure. I can do that. I think the biggest one we have to talk about is definitely GTA 6. They dropped the trailer very recently. It looks gorgeous. Like, oh my god. And the fact that essentially most of the trailer is like proper like gameplay and cutscenes. Like in-engine, I just think is incredible. That said, they have delay until May 2026, so we won't be expecting it this year as they promised initially. But you know, it's fine. Take their time, right? They should. Hopefully, that results in a better product, and you know, people can wait. It's been how many years since GTA 5? They can still wait. Fatal Fury: City of the Wolves released in April 21, and that game has been doing pretty okay for itself, I believe. At least in the fighting game space, right? It's definitely gotten the mainstream FGC's attention as SNK is able to back it up with really good prize pool splits.
Also, I
Right.
saw recently in Evo Japan, Ganachi was there, I think.
Yes, Salvatore Ganacci actually made an appearance. He's in the game and he's also outside of the game, hanging out with the people who enjoy partaking in these games, right?
Yeah,
I
Evo
think-
Japan happening right now, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Fatal Fury was a side game there, and it Xiaohai, KOF God, won that whole thing, I think. Congrats to him. Well, to be fair, it's not too unexpected too. Okay. Anyways, moving on. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. This one released on April 22 as like a bit of a shadow drop. I think what's interesting about this one is that they essentially just put a new coat of paint on their existing engine. So a lot of the jank from the original game is still there, and that's what got people really happy. Because they really, like, part of Oblivion really was the jank for them.
So it's a graphical remaster more than anything. Lah.
Yes, the systems, the bugs and all that are still there, which is kind of amazing from a technical standpoint. Like, I imagine the code base must be very clean if that was the case. Anyways, I don't want to talk about that much. And let me talk to you about my favorite game lately. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, released on April 24th to amazing critical reviews. I love this game. I just finished it yesterday. Absolutely worth a play. If you're not really a big fan of like huge RPG games that take lots of time to do. This one's one of the better ones. In a sense that it's shorter, it's more manageable, and I do think that like the combat system, it's not purely turn-based, and I don't know. Some people might actually prefer that, right? The way you have to dodge and avoid enemy attacks. It keeps you engaged. I don't know, man. The world and everything, it just looks amazing. Anyways, I can't glaze on it for too long. It did get about 2 million. I think it surpassed 2 million in sales like pretty recently. So congrats to them. A very small team but managed to make one of the biggest bangers of this year. Okay, and now moving on before I spend too long on this. Forza Horizon 5. This should be a Microsoft game, but it's showing up on the PS5 April 29th, continuing the trend of Xbox games just showing up on other consoles, showing that they don't really care about exclusivity anymore. Anyways, there's also Among Us 3D that's coming out on May 6th. Who's playing that? I guess I would play that. This is basically the VR version, but instead of needing a VR headset for this, they've just made it so that you can play without one. So that's actually really nice. And there is finally from our major game releases, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, if I'm not mistaken, coming out on May 16. This one has a bit of hype for the FGC as well because there's some real cult classic games in here. Capcom vs SNK 2 in particular is one of them. And I might give it a shot if the community around Malaysia here picks it up. I'm low-key down to give it a shot, but there's also City of the Wolves to play, so there's a lot to go through. Anyways, let me go through a few more releases. Maybe I'll fire up a few that I do find interesting. Blueprints. This is one of the more recent indie games that have been catching people's attention for being a strange mix of genres. This one came out on April 10, and do check it out if you want a bit of a brain buster. It's like a... I want to call it a roguelike, but that's not really everything. You gotta see the game for yourself. Alright, and then we also have... Let's see, we went through City of the Wolves. The 100 Line, Last Defense Academy, dropped on April 24th for the Switch and PC. This one, the Claire Obscure devs actually shouted up... wait, were they the devs or the... or like... Someone from the dev team shouted out this game and said, you should go play it. So that's already a big win for this game. Also, it's made by the people who did Danganronpa. The art style is very similar, and they have... I don't know what to say. I haven't checked out this game for myself, but I do think that it's worth checking out if you do like visual novel type games. So if Claire Obscura people recommended it to you, maybe you should give this one a shot too. Another big one that we should probably touch on is Doom The Dark Ages, which is coming on May 15, which is really not far from now. This should have been in one of the highlights of game releases. I don't need to say too much, right? This game's coming out on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and also PC. And it's one of the new Doom games, so if you like Doom Eternal, you like Doom, you might not necessarily like this game as much. The style of the game is very different, but it's probably worth your time. id Software knows how to make a good Doom game. Alright. We also have Monster Train 2, a roguelike sequel to the original Monster Train, coming out on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and... wait, shit, I missed it. Okay, Switch and also PC. Duck Detective, The Secret Salami. Really cute art style. I remember just seeing the game a few times here and there, right? And it's a bit one of those like point-and-click adventure games. And if you're into that kind of stuff, you should try and look into this as well. This one's coming out on May 22nd. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, coming out on PC on May 22. Disney Illusion Island, PS5, Xbox Series X or S, and PC on May 30th. Anyways, another big one to actually look out for is Elden Ring Night Rain. Good thing we saved this for later, but this is definitely another big one to watch out for. Elden Ring, of course, amazing success that came out in the last few years, right? And the DLC coming out last year to a critical acclaim. They're making another spin-off in the universe called Elden Ring Night Rain, and it's not your usual Souls-like. It's gonna be a 3 people working together in a battle royale like map as it closes in, and you have to get stronger enough in 3 days to kill the final boss. So interesting take on the formula, and I hope it does well. And we also have, not as big, but Rune Factory for some people that know the series. Guardians of Azuma is coming out on Switch and PC on May 30th. So if you're into that kind of stuff, look out for that. Alright, and I do have a few extra announcements here. Not really game releases, but things I found that were really interesting to me. I'm not sure if anyone knows this game called Echo the Dolphin, but surprisingly, I think something might be going on in that space, as I found some news that there might be a potential new third game coming in soon, so plus a reboot. So this comes from the devs of the games themselves. So this isn't necessarily a secret. There might be news. If you go to echothedolphin.com, there is a countdown timer that goes up to, I believe, May 25, and we will see more news on that soon enough. A game that caught my eye was the Shadow Syndicate, which is one of those. It's an indie game that I think how would I describe this? It's a noir-style detective game with animals as like the main characters, but bro, they got Max Payne shooting in there. But it's also a detective game, so it's kind of interesting. You don't see those kinds of games that much anymore. Oh boy, another indie darling here. Turnip Boy steals the mail. My man Turnip Boy committing more crimes. This is the third game in the series of Turnip Boy games committing crimes against humanity. But of course, with every game, they have switched up the genre. This time it's an endless runner. There's no release date for this one yet, but hey, we got more Turnip Boy. And finally, I think we would touch on Age of Bharat. This one's kind of interesting too, because this is an Indian-made game. And I think it's like India's Black Myth Wukong. That's how I would put it, right?
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I believe I've seen like footage of the game before somewhere, and while I don't think it's gonna be on the level of polish of Black Myth Wukong, it's nice to see games coming out from different countries, right? When things started coming out from China and like put them on the map, I feel like it was actually good for the gaming industry as a whole to like diversify the cultures that we get to see. So we're getting another one of India here, so I'm really happy. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on from that. There's a lot of games still gonna come out, but a miscellaneous segment, right?
I think we touched on a little bit of that already with Claire Obscure.
Oh yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I
Of
can't
course
stop.
you did.
I can't stop myself from saying that it sold past 2 million copies. It's amazing. I think everyone should play it. If you're poor, you can buy Game Pass for 20.
I'll give
for
you
a
guys
kid
some
and-
anecdote, right? Like, at least 3 of our players have succumbed to the addiction of Claire Obscure Expedition 33 throughout weekend.
We're gonna make it 33 people.
Achievement 33, all right?
Do you know you get achievements for hitting level 33?
Hey. All right, so we'll talk about some miscellaneous facts. Following on from that one is Split Fiction surpassing 4 million. So surprisingly, like since we started this show, we kept talking about Split Fiction at least once every show.
Which is kind of
So, like,
funny.
Yeah,
It's
so
not like any
Split-
of us actually play the game, but
yeah, so it surpassed 4 million. We're somehow we're just watching the thing succeed. So like, hey, doing good, guys.
yeah.
And
It is a good game.
yeah. It looks very good. It's surprising getting a show for some reason. I don't understand that.
That has been happening a lot lately.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think we'll be touching on that today, but instead we'll be touching on the Nintendo Switch getting their newest update with the whole virtual game card thingy. You want to take it away?
All right. So currently, Switch is on their version 20 update. They actually had a few glitches, so now it's 20.0.1. But the main point of the V20 update is to prepare for the Switch 2. So they added virtual game cards as well as game share, transfer to Nintendo Switch 2, as well as an overhaul to the eShop. So joke is the eShop went from orange to red right now. Cool. But the organization of finding games is better compared to the previous one. If you guys know, Switch game library is quite big. So the eShop was the same since launch. It was pretty bad.
Bro, it's so laggy, I remember.
Yeah,
Oh,
so now
Jesus.
they revamped it. So supposedly it feels better to work with. And then with virtual game card, you can start to loan your games to your family members in the account family share, as well as game share and system transfer to Nintendo Switch 2 will only be active until the Switch 2 launches.
Yeah.
So for now, we can't work with those, but we know Nintendo is preparing very hard because, in 1 month, you know? Hey.
And I can't wait to see that how that turns out. I hope the launch goes smooth because I think we'll probably be covering it after it's happened, right? Just right after, it'll be great. We're gonna get so much news.
All right, so I believe that's pretty much the end of this batch of news.
Yeah.
Surprisingly liked episode of the news segment for Option Select on air.
But we have no shortage of banger games, Expedition. Sorry,
The amount of shilling we're doing for that game is crazy.
and not we, me.
All right. Okay.
Sorry.
Anyway,
I just like the game.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Cam, for this particular section because we are gonna see him on the next one, along with two other members from